Anybody who can't stand up for the Constitution and the right of due process doesn't deserve to lead.
Chris says Mr. Garcia's had no due process. He's been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice. Probably $5 million worth of legal fees, and he hadn't had to pay a dime. Unless you're next level obtuse, you know that Mr. Garcia is never coming back to the United States, ever.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Look at this activist here. Oh boy. Once again, we are back with the fake news, and this is fun to get good and spicy. I tell you. They done bought on Senator Kennedy. And if you know Senator Kennedy, if you know, you know. Yeah, that brother don't hold his tongue, and we finna have a good time. Shout out to them beautiful patriots around the world. We are back with the fake news media. It doesn't stop. They don't want to tell the truth. They don't want to report on anything good. It's all supposed to be bad, negative. Trump's the big bad orange man. Threat to democracy, dictator, Hitler, you know. And how do we elect a felon that you know, just nothing but bad. And that American citizens are going to be deported. Oh! Well, you know, let's go and get into it, man. You just can't make this up, man. If you're new to the channel, join the family. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the video. It's fun to go down with Senator Kennedy on Meet the Press. Senator Kennedy on Meet the Press, NBC News. Oof. What a shame. NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, the whole alphabetical order. Absolute disgrace.
Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Senator Kennedy, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's start off with this case of Mr. Obrego Garcia. You heard my conversation with Senator Van Hollen. The Justice Department called the deportation of Mr. Obrego Garcia a, quote, administrative error. The Supreme Court has ordered the government to facilitate Mr. Obrego Garcia's return. Should Mr. Obrego Garcia be returned to the United States, Senator?
And if you don't know who that is, I'm pretty sure you all know, but it's the gang member. And you see Democrats are rushing and flying down there to have a good time with their buddy. You know, they don't care about the American people. We come last, American citizens, but they do care about the illegals, the gang member criminals. You know, the activist judges want the planes to be turned around in mid-flight. Bring back the rapists, the murderers, the killers. Yeah, bring them back. The MS-13 gang member criminal. Yeah. They asked his wife, ma'am, you have a protection order out on him. You know, you said in the statements, written in the statements, he abused you, gave you black eyes. Yeah. And not one judge, multiple judges. Says he's a illegal gang member criminal. Had a deportation order. But hey, they say Trump is the one in the wrong. He's making the mistake. And that he can disappear anybody. He can even disappear American citizens. You know how the fake news media twists everything. And they just can't tell the truth. The wife is covering up his MS-13 tattoos all over the internet with her heart emojis. They asked her live on television, ma'am. You know, and she just, after getting confronted, you have a protection order out on him. You know, could you explain this to us? What, you know, did he abuse you? She's completely silent. Oh, my husband is alive. A disgrace, man. You know, but we know why she froze up. We know why. Because he's an illegal gang member criminal. Because he's MS-13. That's why she froze live on television. Enough of me talking, though. Let's continue. I'm not talking anymore, I promise y'all.
Well, Chris is my friend, and I respect him, and he's certainly entitled to his opinion, but in my judgment, he is utterly and gloriously wrong. I mean, most of this gauzy rhetoric is just rage bait. Unless you're next level obtuse, you know that Mr. Garcia is never coming back to the United States, ever. And that's not because of President Trump. That's because of Mr. President Bukele. He said up front in the Oval Office that he was not going to return Mr. Garcia. No federal judge, even Jay Wilkinson, has authority over a sovereign country. Besides that, it should not go unnoticed that Mr. Bukele is much closer to President Xi in China than he is to President Trump. Xi is spending billions of dollars to build infrastructure in El Salvador, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've discussed this case. The final point I would make, whether you agree with it or not, is Bukele hates MS-13, and Mr. Garcia allegedly is a member of MS-13. The other point I would make is that Chris says Mr. Garcia's had no due process. He's been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice, probably $5 million worth of legal fees, and he hadn't had to pay a dime. Final point I'd make, look, this was a screw-up, in my opinion. The administration won't admit it, but this was a screw-up. Mr. Garcia was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador. He was sent to El Salvador. The Democrats say, look, you know, we told you Trump is a threat to democracy. This is going to happen every other Thursday afternoon. I don't see any pattern here. I mean, you know, someday pigs may fly, but I doubt it.
Senator, this is notable because you are saying, in your words, this is a screw-up. I mean, are you concerned that more mistakes could happen?
Well, sure. None of us want mistakes. Mistakes bad. Doing it right, good.
Yeah.
But it was a screw-up, and I understand why the administration is bowed up and said we won't admit it's a mistake, because if they do, they'll have their throats torn out. But it was a screw-up. I don't see any pattern here. I've been listening to my Democratic friends say for, I don't know, since God was a child, that Trump is a threat to democracy. I don't see any pattern here. I see a screw up.
Well, and the concern for some people is that if there's one screw up, it does become a slippery slope. It is worth noting Mr. Obrego Garcia has not ever been charged with a crime. And in terms of what the courts are saying, they're not saying this is under the jurisdiction of the president of El Salvador. They're saying this is the responsibility of the U.S. government, the Supreme Court ordering the Trump administration to facilitate his return. And in a ruling this week, a three-judge panel on the U.S. Court of Appeals wrote, quote, "The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order." Do you believe Mr. Obrego Garcia is due to have due process?
Well, I think number one, he's had due process. But if your question is, should he have been given a hearing before he was sent to El Salvador, I think the answer is yes. But let me say something about the Fourth Circuit opinion written by Jay Wilkinson. Judge Wilkinson is a very clever, self-confident guy. But he left out one part in his opinion. What does he expect Trump to do? Declare war and go get Bukele? I mean, he brought Bukele to America. President Bukele sat in the Oval Office in front of God and country and said, I'm not sending this guy back. So I don't know what Judge Wilkinson expects Trump to do.
Well, the president could simply have asked for it back, and he may have brought him. But let me ask you about something you said just a couple of months ago.
How do you know he hasn't? But Kristen, how do you know he hasn't?
Well, he has said he doesn't plan to. I'm just
that,
basing this off of his public comments. The president has said he doesn't plan to. But let me just play something.
Kristen Welker in NBC News. What do we expect? Thank you for answering. Thank you. I already know how y'all answered that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You said, this is a couple months ago during a confirmation hearing for some of the president's DOJ officials. Take a listen. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Don't ever take the position that you're not going to follow the order of a federal court. Now, all our judiciary has, an equal branch of government, has its legitimacy. It doesn't have an army. Don't ever say you're not going to follow the order of a court.
Do you believe that President Trump is following the orders of the courts right now?
Yes. And I don't believe that President Trump will defy it.
I just can't make this up, huh?
If he does, I'll call him
we
out.
just can't make this shit up, man. I tell you.
I believe what I said in the clip. I love the rule of law. I love it like the devil loves sin. I think if we start not following federal judicial orders, we undermine the system entirely. Now, that doesn't mean you can't criticize them. You can criticize them, you can appeal them, but you can't choose to not follow them. And I haven't seen President Trump do that. And if he does, I'll say very loudly and clearly that I think he's wrong.
Okay. Let me ask you about something else President Trump said this week. He said he would like to send what he called, and I'm quoting him, homegrown criminals, meaning U.S. citizens, to foreign prisons like the one in El Salvador. Senator, do you think the law allows the president of the United States to send U.S. citizens to a foreign prison?
No, ma'am. Nor should it be considered appropriate or moral. We have our own laws. We have the 8th Amendment to the Constitution. We shouldn't send prisoners to foreign countries, in my judgment.
Okay, let me switch gears here a little bit, ask you about President Trump's agenda, because I know y'all are going to be very focused on that. Senate Republicans split right now, Senator, over whether to allow tax hikes on wealthy Americans as a part of that budget bill that you're trying to pass. Bloomberg News is reporting that the House proposal would set the rate at 40% for taxpayers earning $1 million or more per year. That's up from the current top tax rate of 37%. Senator, would you support increasing the tax rate on wealthy Americans?
I'm not sure yet. I'd like to see the language. Here are my thoughts, Kristen, generally. I don't believe in making tax policy on the basis of class warfare. Mm-hmm. And I think the people who are raising this issue, they're entitled to, of course, but they're asking the wrong question. I listened under President Biden, my Democratic colleagues for 4 years asked, who needs to pay more in taxes? That, to me, is the wrong question. The right question is, what the hell happened to the money? And I hope that's the question that we address fundamentally in the reconciliation.
But, Senator, it sounds like you're leaving the door open to the possibility that you could ultimately, at some point, support an increase in taxes if you thought it was the best way to get that budget bill over the finish line?
Well, we're in the process of putting the bill together. And here's what will probably happen. The House and the Senate will spend about, hopefully no more than 60 days trying to reach a consensus. Everything's on the table. Mm-hmm. We won't reach a consensus. And then we'll have to go to the White House and meet with the president. And after a few hugs and a cup of hot cocoa, the president will arbitrate here and say this is in and this is out. And then he's going to have to put his muscle behind it to pass it. But this bill is important. It's our way of lowering prices. You lower prices by cutting spending, by deregulating the economy, And by designing a tax code that looks like somebody designed it on purpose in a way that stimulates growth so wages go up.
Senator,
And that's my objective in all this.
Senator, we are almost out of time, but as you know, tensions have been mounting between the president and the Fed chair. Would you support President Trump removing Jerome Powell as Fed chair?
Uh-oh, here we go.
I don't think any president has the right to remove the Federal Reserve chairman. I think the Federal Reserve ought to be independent. I think that Jay Powell and President Trump need to sit down and once again have a hug and a cup of hot cocoa and work it out. My experience with Jay Powell is that he's got tiger blood. He's going to do what he thinks is right. And he's not going to go down in history as the Federal Reserve chairman that allowed inflation to become wild as a March hare. And he's going to do what he thinks he's got to do.
All right, Senator
Kennedy,
thank
Senator
you so
Kennedy.
much. I want to wish you and your family
What y'all think, man? Comment down below, man.
Thank you for joining us. We really